Miss Ericka Pittman. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can. And let me tell you guys something about Miss Ericka. She probably doesn't remember this because it's been a long time and she meets a million people. But met Ericka. I met you 2 years ago, and it was just like one of these entertainment events in LA. It was like a panel thing. They were interviewing her, probably very similar to this. And I pulled her aside and I was like, I have this idea. I want to develop it. It has an app, it has this. And I literally took her advice, and now my show is being developed by Sony. So she actually gave me a piece of advice that she didn't even, she probably gave me the piece of advice and didn't even think about it anymore. But it's something I'm developing with an app, and her piece of advice was very solid. It was very on point, and it just helped me just kind of, sometimes you're all over the place in your ideas, and you just have to really focus it. And she is the queen of marketing and branding and knowing how to do all those things. And so, yes, her piece of advice 2 years ago helped me land something. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But before we jump into the questions you guys submitted for her, I just wanted to briefly read her bio. Miss Ericka M. Pittman is a modern-day fixer and an expert problem solver. Her innovative approach and strategic way of thinking make her one of the best brand architects in the business. She's held titles at media companies such as Time, Abide Media Group, Condé Nast, before transitioning to the Blue Fame Agency, where she sat as the VP of Marketing. Her standout performance caught the attention of the one and only Sean P. Diddy Combs, who hand-selected Ericka for a curated leadership role within his company, Combs Enterprises. As the VP of Combs Enterprises in the chairman office, she worked alongside the executive teams, working closely against the business objectives of the Combs portfolio in the LA branch. It was this position that catapulted her into a C-suite position as the chief marketing officer of Aqua Hydrate. Pittman has been marketing and developing brands for over 20 years, becoming an expert in brand and building with specialization in lifestyle and branding. Her campaigns and initiatives have reached across genres, creating a bridge between influencers, artists, and celebrities. She also co-starred on the Emmy Award-winning Bravo series, The Singles Project. So speaking of Bravo, Nadine is a Bravo producer, so you may have crossed paths at one point with Nadine being a Bravo vet. She is a member of the National Association of Professional Women, Advertising Women of New York, Cosmetic Executive Women, and Ericka lends her time and energy to a number of causes and other organizations, including Just for Success and Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. She is currently the first CMO of a marijuana brand called Viola, correct? Viola.
Viola.
Viola
Davis.
Like Viola Davis. And so she made history, like Felicia yesterday made history being the first diversity officer at the recording room. So we have a lot of history makers on this panel. We're so blessed to have you, Ericka. So with no further ado, we're going to jump into some of your questions. And the first question, why marketing and not, I don't know, being a lawyer or being a doctor? Like, why marketing? Because I think people hear marketing, and I don't think people really know what it really is, even when they think they're interested in it. So why marketing for you?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people don't realize what marketing is. And the more I engage different companies, I realize even within organizations, people don't always understand marketing. It's like this sort of alchemy, magical, and then you just do that marketing stuff. That's kind of how they refer to it inside of corporations as well. So for me, it's interesting. When I was younger, I thought I wanted to be an accountant, probably until I was about maybe 10 or 11. And then I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and I decided it was a lot of reading, bless your heart. It's a lot. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't really speak to my personality. And I met someone, my mom introduced me to a woman when I was about 13 or 14 who was in marketing. And she talked to me a little bit about marketing as a category. And that's sort of what piqued my interest, I think, in my teens. But when I went to college and I started looking up curriculums against different majors, I realized that corporate communications spoke to my soul, and it just basically covered everything that I thought I could or would be good at and or interested in. And so I majored in corporate communications in my undergrad degree, and ended up selling advertising for quite some time. And I was really good at it. And the reason why I think I had so much success selling advertising, I worked for magazines like Vibe magazine, Glamour, some of the other really big popular ones throughout my career. But what I realized I was doing was I was creating solutions for specific brands to connect with a specific audience, right? And that's really what marketing is in its essence. It's figuring out a way to evangelize your brand attributes to a very specific market. There are some ideologies and theories that go into getting that done in the traditional sense of marketing. I know a lot of people think because they can tap into influencers, because they understand how to work social media, or they know how to throw a really good party, that they're marketers, but that's not necessarily marketing in totality. Marketing is a combination of a few things, and it's really understanding how to predict what your audience is going to need or want, and then utilizing those different tools like events, like social and digital media, like influencers, to socialize your message and get people connected with your product or service.
Well, no.
So for me, I didn't answer you. So yeah.
No.
Okay.
That's the answer to the question. I mean, you kind of went into the second question about just like what exactly is marketing, but yeah, it just did. The other things just didn't speak to you, right?
Not like marketing did. It just wasn't part of my personality. And I was like, you know what? I knew very early on that I wanted a career. I didn't want a job. Jobs seemed to not be so fun. And I wanted to do something that I loved, and this spoke to me.
And then, speaking of which, so since you sort of already broke it down, a lot of people in LA make up titles. You know this, right? Yeah. Of the LA,
in America.
Yeah, I'm a brand specialist. I'm a brand creator. You know, they come up with all these fancy titles. So, what is the difference between branding and, because some people are like, well, I'm not really marketing. I'm really more like PR and branding. Is it all kind of under the same umbrella or no?
Yes, PR falls under marketing. PR is a type of marketing, right? So public relations is your ability to communicate with the general public about a specific brand. A lot of times public relations maximizes what's called earned media impressions. So those are impressions that you garner as a result of someone telling your story or socializing on behalf of your particular product or service. So what publicists do in the PR realm is they go out and they make connections with environments that have scalable platforms. So they have a lot of eyeballs, they have a lot of people listening, and these publicists, they go out and they pitch their brand, product, or service to get people to talk about that brand, product, or service. So I have a PR team that reports into me in my current position of about 5 different folks, and we have corporate PR, we have product PR. There's a whole host of ancillary categories within public relations.
Okay, so
branding, just to understand. Branding is also a part of marketing. And that's why I say people don't really understand what marketing is. Marketing is an overarching umbrella, and then there's all sorts of little tentacles that go underneath that. And so when you're branding, what you're doing is creating affinity, salience, and awareness for a specific product or service. So you are, or person, you are convincing someone or something to connect with a specific product, person, or service.
Gotcha. And that's why I guess, like you said, knowing your audience is very important. You know, if your product or service is for somebody, I don't know, 18 to 35, and you're pitching to people that are over 40, you're not going to get the result that you want. You have to know it down to the T. And it's funny because this goes for anything. I mean, you've literally done marketing for all types of things, all types of products and services. So it really doesn't matter what it is. It could even just be for a TV show. Well, what's the demographic? Who's going to want to watch this? Yeah. That's who we go after in terms of the advertising. And so,
well, you need marketing for everything, by the way. If you want to connect with people on any level, you need some form of marketing.
Right. And what are your, so I'll have you here. What are your thoughts about, because social media did not really exist probably at the beginning of your career. So
the internet didn't exist in the beginning of my career, for reference.
Even though she looks like she's literally 17 years on this call, we're gonna have to get her beauty tips because she looks so young. I'm like, oh my God, I have to know what you're drinking. What what do you think about it? Because I mean, I think social media is cool, but sometimes I feel inundated, or just like people are just trying to sell me stuff all the time. Like, what do you think about social media in the scope of? Because I mean, you've had to obviously include it now in what you do. What do you think about it?
Listen, I think social media is brilliant, and anyone that is starting a business as a young startup that is not maximizing social media is doing themselves a disservice. It is a free, when you talk about earned and owned media impressions. So the key to any successful campaign is to keep your CPMs as low as possible, right? So the amount of money that you invest to convert eyeballs. So you want to get as many people to see your product for as little dollars as possible.
Right.
And how you do that, there's 3 types of impressions. There are owned, earned, and paid media impressions. The paid ones are your advertising, like you see commercials or you see ads in magazines or newspapers, or even ads that you see on social media. Those are all paid, and they're the most expensive eyeballs. What you want to try to do is maximize your owned impressions and your earned impressions. And social media is a brilliant way to do both of those things for, very small amount of money.
Now, what's the difference between own and earn? Earn, I guess, is like when you gain a follower, maybe. Or
earned is when someone else speaks about your service or product on your behalf. So if I repost the Legally Fab conference today, that's an earned media impression. An owned media impression is your own platforms and resources of opt-in subscribers, of people that are interested in your brand, product, or service. So you own those eyeballs already, and you're just basically communicating with the people that are already baked into your audience. That's an owned impression.
Gotcha. Okay. I hope y'all are taking notes. And somebody
I hope so too, because I'm so sick of everybody talking about their marketers and they don't know what they're talking about. I'm just saying.
But I'm gonna ask Ericka today because she's gonna be on this call. So I'm learning a lot. And I love that breakdown of your earned versus your own impressions, and spending the least amount of money to get the eyeballs. I think that's important. Somebody just wrote in the comment box, do you do externships? Does any of the companies that you work with do any sort of internships?
Yeah, we have a couple of interns in our office now. Well, not in our office, but remotely now. We do. I encourage internship. I think it's really important to have hands-on experience in different environments. Just to see if it's what you really want to do before you delve into a career shift or a major if you're still in college. So I encourage anyone on the call that is looking to get into marketing to intern. To work on some projects, even at a project-based level, perhaps for free, because you're going to gain the experience and learn, skills that perhaps you wouldn't have been able to acquire otherwise. So I absolutely encourage internships, and we do.
Yes. And then in terms of someone asked, do I specifically? Yes, I have. So I have interns that help me on the legal and the production side of my projects. I usually use like entertainmentcareers.net, or I'll even post on social media, hey, I'm looking for an intern. I don't know if Viola is looking for interns right now, but check their website, check their Instagram. I love free labor. People say, don't say that, but it's true. I love it. I love free labor. I will give you the experience, and then, in exchange, you get the intern credit. There's actually a new law that says that we actually have to give.
You have to pay.
Credit.
Yeah, particularly
you have to pay. Right, you have to pay a stipend, or you have to do a credit. So before that rule did exist, so people were going crazy with just getting interns to do 40 and 50 hours of work. So definitely reach out to the companies that you're interested in, whether it's Ms. Ericka Pittman's company or anybody that I've interviewed. I'm pretty sure they all these companies have internships. They're always looking for eager people. So speaking of, interns, and it's funny because the next question is about Diddy. And, he'll put you
through. Isn't it always? Isn't the next question always about Diddy?
He will put you through the ringer. I've only met him briefly. He's obviously a very colorful personality, but he's one of the hardest working people I know in the business. And so, I feel like at some level he's earned his, way to be that way.
At some level, at every level.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like he
has earned the right to be exactly who he is. He has earned it. Yes.
So with that being said, the question is, what is the best business piece of advice that Diddy gave you?
Oh, so many pieces of advice. I worked with Mr. Combs for 9 years. It was an honor and a privilege. Have you ever heard the saying, iron sharpens iron?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like working in that environment at that level of excellence really conditioned me for the rest of my career. And, having worked in other environments since Combs, I realized, everything else is child's play. It's like I could do it in my sleep because I'm so used to figuring it out at Combs. But the one piece of advice that I've always said in every single interview that I think is the biggest aha moment for me is Sean Combs taught me that anything is possible. And I know it sounds very Pollyanna, but it's like, you literally can make anything happen if you work hard enough and utilize all of your resources, right? And you think about the Wright brothers being able to create the airplane, or even Steve Jobs and team creating the iPhone, Thomas Edison and electricity. There's so many possibilities for innovation that come from throwing impossibility out the window. So figuring out ways to make things happen out of nothing became commonplace working with Sean Combs. And that's his mentality. He really does.
He can make anything out of air.
He can make anything. He believes he can make anything happen. And he conditioned the leaders around him to operate from the same space. And it's helped me tremendously in my life.
Okay. And then I think you may have touched upon it already a little bit. How do you, outside obviously an internship, how do you start in marketing if you kind of only have a little experience? I mean, how do you really start? Because maybe you can speak to your first position in marketing. Maybe you can tell us about that, and then maybe that would help us understand like where you even thought to start.
Well, it's interesting. I think marketing has evolved so much since even I first started as an executive in marketing. But to be honest with you, I struggled transitioning out of sales into marketing. And it was the most bizarre thing because, while not to go too deep into it, but advertising and marketing are sister competencies. Like you kind of need both to make it sort of happen. So the fact that I was on the advertising side and couldn't convert to the marketing was beyond my scope of comprehension. But I did a ton of informational interviews. I spoke to very senior level executives within the industry that I've been friends and colleagues with for years. And every single one of them just about told me there was no way I was going to be able to make a lateral move from a sales executive to a marketing executive because I didn't have traditional marketing experience. I didn't go to Kellogg. I didn't work for P&G. I didn't. And I thought that's ridiculous. And I'm absolutely not going to settle for that. And literally just took a few, informational interviews. I met with a woman by the name of Amani Duncan, who is now at Viacom. She's a marketing executive there. She was the CMO at Bad Boy Worldwide Entertainment Group at the time, which is now Combs Enterprises. Nobody wants to say Bad Boy Worldwide Entertainment Group all day long. So thank God that we evolved that name.
Like Combs Enterprises.
Combs Enterprises. Nice and easy. Right. So she was the CMO there, and she asked me what my dream job was. And I told her it was this hybrid between sales and marketing and really pitching and selling paradigms versus, products and services. And she said this job was exactly what she was envisioning for their team, and would I be interested in coming on board? So it was very serendipitous. My career has been serendipitous at large, but it was a matter of a conversation and being very, very matter of fact about what I wanted and how my skill set could fit in the puzzle of what she was trying to create. So I gave you that very long-winded story because I want people to understand is if you want to transition into any industry, particularly if you are seasoned in one space and want to move into another, it's important for you to create palatable analogies around your skill sets. So what is it that you know how to do in your current role or in your current career that could make sense in this next career that you would like to create? Like if I wanted to become a professor, I probably would need to specialize in marketing and sales, right? Because that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years. But nonetheless, I could still become a professor if I wanted to. Now that's more of a vocation, so I do need some accreditation to get that done. But I think with marketing, there's so many different ways you can get into the space. And so if you are a graphic designer, you could get a job in the graphic design department of a marketing department or company. If you have a skill set with social and digital media, maybe that perhaps is a space for you. Again, publicity. So it's really just looking at the landscape of what marketing is, looking at your curriculum vitae or your resume and what you've been able to do, and then tapping into the things that you're naturally good at and you enjoy, and figuring out how to make those things fit together. But sometimes you do have to start at the bottom. If you don't have, I hate to say at the bottom, forgive me, let me fix my words. You have to start at the beginning. I didn't mean the beginning to work your way through where you want to go.
And again, I think you speak to that point. That's why it's funny that, you know, we were kind of talking extensively about internships. I'm glad you mentioned informational interviews.
Yes.
Those are amazing. I'm glad you brought those up because somehow that's how I've gotten a mentor. I'm like, listen, I just need 10 minutes of your time. So this is the clue with busy people. Ericka's busy, everybody's busy, right? You say 10 minutes because everybody for the most part has 10 minutes. I will meet you where you are. Where are you going to be today? I'll meet you wherever you are. I'll meet you near a coffee shop. I know COVID is kind of crazy, so obviously take this conversation into context. But I would say wherever you're going to be, I'll meet you where you are. I will walk with you to your car. I will meet you at the coffee shop nearby. I will bring you coffee. What coffee do you drink? If you really want to connect with someone that's really busy that can help you, an informational interview and just asking for 10 minutes is perfect. Also, people like to talk about themselves. So if you're really you're not coming in to ask for a job, right? You're asking them just for their time. Like, I just want to hear about what you did and how you do it. I think informational interviews are actually brilliant because a lot of times they lead to opportunities. So I'm glad she mentioned that. And I'm also glad she mentioned that they kept saying, you're never, no, you didn't go to Kellogg. Nope, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do that. So nope. A lot of times they're like, hey, if you didn't go to this school, and you don't know this person, guess what? No, you're not getting in. You're not getting in. You're not going to be able to make that transition. Like Diddy, she didn't take no for an answer. She believed she could do it. She just kept, until she could figure it out, kept doing the informational interviews, did internships, whatever she had to do. And like I said, not necessarily starting at the bottom, but starting at the beginning of people giving her opportunities and being the best that you can. A story that you told, I'm sure you remember the story. This is actually the panel I met you at. It was like a music panel. You talked about, I think it was learning how to open a champagne bottle or something.
Bottle. Yes.
And just being the best at that. Just taking pride in the little things. Even Nadine from Bravo was mentioning, how she just got the best coffee as a coffee, as an assistant runner. Like, just taking pride in whatever. Like you said, you're going to be at the beginning doing very small tasks, but it just goes a long way. People see your dedication, your energy, your eagerness, and there could be like a moment with Nadine, like a writer assistant went away, so they just needed somebody to step in the place. You never know. And Ericka, you just spoke about things just being kind of serendipitous. Just sometimes things just connect and happen, but I also think you kind of have to be in the room. You kind of have to be, for things to happen, you have to be there. So a lot of you guys, some of you guys are on the East Coast, a lot of you guys on this call on the West Coast. If you want to get into entertainment at any level, because I believe every woman that I've interviewed, whether she's a lawyer or a doctor or a marketer or whatever, they've all been in entertainment. They've all been on TV. If you want to get into entertainment, you have to go to places like LA and New York. You have to kind of be in the place. So that's important that you also physically come where these things are when you are thinking about your journey and where you want to be. And just like Ms. Pittman said, just keep going. You just have to keep going. With that being said, is there anything that you want to plug in terms of what you're doing with Viola, or anything that's next that you can even talk about, like what we should be looking for in terms of next, what's coming for you?
Yes. So a couple of things. There's three things, because you said a mouthful with the informational interviews. I couldn't agree with you more. I think informationals are vital. It's the best way to find a job. But there are a few things you have to keep in mind, particularly with that 10 minutes. Please do not ask questions that you can answer on Google. research the person that you're looking to engage and create a conversation that is going to be equally as enriching for the person as it is for you. Like, don't ask silly questions like, what made you major in marketing in college? That doesn't matter.
It's already in the bio on Google.
It's already in the bio, and that doesn't forward you in the 10 minutes that you have with this person for the informational, right? And then be very intentional about what it is that you want. So when you ask a question, I remember Dame Dash, I did an event when I was very young for Rockaware when they first launched, and the event was a huge success. And Dame Dash asked me, he's like, you're really phenomenal. What do you want to do? Like, how can I help you? What do you want to get done? And I remember being shocked that that was his approach. And I was like, I couldn't answer the question. I was like, you know what, is there any way we can talk about this like on Monday? I've been running around with this. He was like, no, absolutely we can't. He said, this was your opportunity right now. So we cannot talk about it, but this is a lesson for you to always be prepared to ask for what it is you want, because you never know when the opportunity is going to present itself. And that was the last time that I didn't know what I wanted.
Right. So you're like, I'm going to have that question ready.
Ready every time. And then the other bit is another trick that I try to teach people about informationals is ask the person if they can recommend 3 additional people that might make sense for you to talk to. So always ask for 3 additional people. You'll probably only get 1 or 2, but what it'll do is it'll keep rotating the cycle and expand your network. And so now you've been able to touch people that perhaps you wouldn't have even been able to reach because you've got a referral or a recommendation from the person you had the informational with. So that's a good way to stretch your network authentically. The second thing was I just want to make sure we get this name right because it's very important. It's Al Harrington's grandmother's name. It's Viola, like
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis. Violin. Viola.
Somebody asked actually in the comments about the company. Can you tell us just a little bit more? Because this is a new company and what he's trying to do, and it's named after his grandmother and why that's so important.
Absolutely. So the company's actually not new. We've been around for 9 years.
9
years. The largest multi-state African-American operator in the country. We have a vertical integration. So we work in Colorado, Oregon, Michigan, and California. We cultivate, we process, we distribute, and we dispense THC cannabis. The brand has been around for 9 years, and it's named after Al's grandmother because she inspired him to get into the industry. She suffers with glaucoma, and she was staying with him when he played for the Denver Nuggets, and her eyes were really hurting her. And he had some friends that smoked weed in Colorado. It was legal. So he called one of his friends and he said, is there anything you guys have for eyesight for glaucoma? And they said, yeah. And he's like, well, my grandmother is older. She's not going to smoke. So we could get her a vape, we'll get her.
She's not gonna she ain't gonna light it up, right?
Listen, he convinced her, and she says, what's cannabis? And he says, marijuana, grandma. And she said, reefer? I'm not smoking no reefer, boy. That was her reaction to him immediately, right? But so he convinces her to vape, and he checks in on her an hour later, and he tells the story the exact same way, and it brings tears to your eyes. He's like, she's crying because she can read her Bible a couple of hours later. And he was just like, what kind of sorcery magic is this? And so it made him kind of look at the plant as a medicinal resource. And he did a ton of research and decided to start the company, and he named it after his grandmother. So I'm always very vigilant about Viola because the story is brilliant. So it's a great company, great purpose. But the thing I really wanted to talk to you about was my plug. So
please plug. This is
my little book, which this has my notes, but it's called What Mommy Never Told You.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to buy a couple of these books and I'm going to give them away.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I'll do that. But if you don't get one of these books through my giveaway, please get it. Is it everywhere? Is it Amazon?
Amazon.com. Amazon.com. You can get your paperback hard copy, and you also can order an ebook too through Amazon.com. It's I call it 2 parts memoir, one part life coaching. Basically, just the lessons I've learned along the way, and my life. People always ask me sort of my background. That